Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glenn Sutherland.
Welcome to another episode of Canadian Investing in the U.S. This week, my guest is Jashan Mundi. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your story, and then we'll get into your story.
Yeah, love it. Appreciate it. And thank you for having me on, Glenn. Been listening to your podcast for past year or so. So definitely helped me start my journey investing in the U.S. But a little bit about my background. I'm Canadian. Bought my first property back in September 2020 in Windsor. And ever since then, I've always had in the back of my mind kind of looking to invest in the U.S. Just made a lot more sense in terms of numbers, and it makes even more sense now with how the Canadian market has exploded. So eventually made the plunge and closed on a 6-unit apartment building, residential building here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And so closed on that in end of January, and I'm just kind of in the process of going through that.
Cool. So maybe we'll go from the start. You why'd you pick Cincinnati? You just find the property there, or was there a reason to go for Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at other areas in Ohio. I definitely wanted to start my journey off in Ohio State. It just felt like in terms of pricing, landlord laws, and just kind of easier to drive to rather than, across the country somewhere. So, I definitely wanted to start in Ohio. And then I was looking at some markets, looked at Cleveland, looked at Toledo, Columbus I was looking at for a while, but that was a little bit more pricey. And then stumbled across Cincinnati, started learning about it. Realized that properties are still fairly priced here, and population growth. It's not Texas, but it's still steadily growing over time. And just the overall economy, I was able to visit Cincinnati as well, and walk through the downtown core and some of the areas, and just the overall vibe of it felt safe, unlike many other U.S. cities and states where you got to look over your shoulder all the time. So just got a good vibe from it and went from there.
Yeah, no, Cincinnati's a great market. So how'd you find this place?
Yeah, this one originally I was actually looking at 2 to 4 unit small multis to start off, and this was it popped up on the MLS, and I just knew it was just felt underpriced. I mean, it was 6 units at 200 and listed at $250,000, and obviously I knew there'd be a lot of work going into it, but I just felt like I saw a deal and immediately hit up my agent and just kind of got into the 6 unit without really having too much, I guess, commercial experience. And so just jumped into it, put an offer, and originally put it in at 250. And then we were able to, we did the inspection, had an inspection clause in there, and found a few things that obviously needed to be fixed. And then was able to get the price down at $240,000. Probably could have negotiated a little harder, but still a fairly good price.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Do you have any how did this closing go? Any interesting stuff? Any stuff they had some pains or problems, or anything that anyone else that was going to go do the same thing would be like, that's interesting?
Yeah, I mean, the closing was delayed a couple times actually. So I got under contract on this property at like the end of October, and we got through the inspection, got through that, negotiated the price, and then I was able to. We were speaking with a broker who was able to get a lender interested. And they were offering kind of like a fix and refinance loan product. Yep. So that was attractive. I was looking into that. We were kind of in the works of it, and then last minute they just kind of fell through and said, "Yeah, we're not interested to move forward." Bit of like lack of experience investing in the U.S., so that kind of played against me. And then we kind of had to just like readjust from there and find another provider, and was able to get another lender in there who was offered kind of a more long-term loan product, the typical fixed 30-year. So obviously wasn't the ideal product. I wanted to fix and flip just because I could get in with less money, but I thought,
you could do some work and get all your little bugs fixed out. And
exactly. So like
a higher amount.
Yeah. So and then we were able to sort that out and go from there.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you got this thing closed. Did you get tenants when you bought that thing?
Yeah, so 5 out of the 6 units were tenanted. So one of the units, the previous tenant had been evicted. So that was a project I started on right away to fix it up and get contractors working on it. And then we're able to get 3 of the 5 tenants to stay. I increased their rents a bit. They're rented at like 400, low 400s. And so I gave a notice. No, typically it's like 30 days in Ohio, but I decided to give them like an extra month to just kind of work things out. And typically in that area, rents go for like $700 if you kind of fix it up a bit and make it look clean. So 700, 800. But we were able to get a few of the tenants already who were already there up to 600, and then there's 2 tenants who decided to move. And so I got 3 units here. One is we just finished renovating a couple weeks ago, so we have it listed for rent, and then the other remaining 2 we're working on now.
That's awesome. So I'm thinking like your project plan obviously was to raise the rents to like bring your cash flow up and hit your targets. Is there more to the plan, like because you are in a 6 unit, so you are talking about commercial financing? Are you trying to go maybe decrease some expenses, or are there any other stuff you're doing with this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely I would like to get a refinance plan in place once we've got all the units turned over. The interest rate that I have right now is quite high. It's close to 10%. So I mean,
you'll want to refinance that.
Yeah, so I definitely want to. It was a temporary, in my mind, it was a temporary kind of loan product to get me into the property. But yeah, I definitely want to just speak with other lenders and see if we can get a more favorable interest rate on that, and hopefully a better loan to value as well, because I closed with basically 60% loan to value. So it's quite, I mean, with the different lenders I've been speaking to, it's not insane to pay, have like 60% loan to value. I mean, I've got 65 loan to value, so it seems quite common. But if there are any lenders out there who might, be able to provide a little bit more leverage on the property, that'll be great as well, just so I could pull more equity out and then recycle it again.
Yeah. If you can like push the value up, move the leverage rate up, you should get a nice cash out refinance. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So anything else about this property I should ask you about? Like what does this thing look like? Is this like for a 6 unit, is it 2-story, or is it all one long strip, or is it a whole bunch of different buildings, or what is it? If you're gonna look at it, what would it look like?
Yeah, it's got like a funny shape. It's like just a rectangle, like it's 3 stories, so you got 2 units on each. Pretty much all identical, 1 bedroom, 1 bath units. So in terms of like fixing it up and kind of picturing from a distance, because I'm doing a lot of these renovations from a distance, managing the project remotely. So it's kind of easier to plan it out when all units look identical. So 1 bedroom, 1 bath, about 700 to 800 square feet. So it's in a quiet street. We're in the West Price Hill, Ohio neighborhood, which certain pockets can be rougher than others, but luckily I got this property here. It's in a quiet street. It's nearby schools, and I was actually chatting with someone who bought a 6 unit just a few days ago. I spoke with them, and they purchased theirs early in 2022, and but they purchased a kind of more remodeled, updated, and that one went for just over $400,000. So I mean, it's obviously good to see that there's some meat on the bone there. That hopefully, when it comes to refinance it, hopefully end of this year or later, early next year, hopefully got something to work with there.
Well, yeah, exactly. If you can move the value of this property up by raising the rents and stuff, and I'm not sure what the cap rate is in Cincinnati, but I know what they are in Toledo and Dayton, and so you could probably fairly similar, because Toledo's just Cincinnati is just down the road from Dayton, maybe an hour or something, so it's probably not that much different. But I know Cincinnati is a little bit nicer. It's a little bit more stuff going on and a bit bigger. But professional sports teams too.
The professional sports teams, they're big about their baseball there.
Yeah. So what's the plan going forward? What are you looking to do next? When I started investing in the US, I did it by myself and had to go through the growing pains of doing that. GlennSutherland.com/coaching. A 12-week coaching program done 1 hour per week over Zoom from the comfort of your own home. Classes are kept to 5 people to be able to answer everyone's questions. Shortcut the process. Make fewer mistakes. Curriculum available at glensutherland.com/coaching.
Yeah, I mean, moving forward, I'm actually in the process of selling the Windsor property that I have and moving that capital over to buy more in the U.S. So I've got some equity built up in the Windsor property. At the time, I had purchased it for 280, and that thing skyrocketed to, it just got under contract for 470. So if all goes well, I mean, got a lot of equity to tap into there, and just rolling it out to the next thing, and hopefully, definitely like in the near future, kind of raising more private money, just rather than using all my own funds, because there's a certain line that it stops a bit. So you definitely need to raise more capital to kind of grow the business a little bit more. So I mean, in the long haul, yeah, I mean, I like the prospects of investing in Cincinnati, especially Ohio, for cap rates, and I think in terms of cash flow, if you're looking at cash flow, it's not many better states out there. So I know a lot of people are flooding to Florida, and Alabama is a popular state, and Indianapolis is great too. So
oh yeah, lots of good places, but like I appreciate the model you're doing, even because you're looking to raise money. But even myself, whenever I'm starting in a new market, what I like to do is, do a proof of concept with my own money first. And once you have something, you can show people that this is how it works. This is here, and you're not like your investors or whatever, or you're depending if you're taking equity investors or even private lenders, they're not rolling the dice with you. It's kind of, you figured out the things. The first one's the hardest one, second one's easier, and then from third on, it just starts to get so much easier with you're reusing the same people, reusing all the same stuff over and over and over again. So that's awesome. Did you have any trouble setting up your teams to find this contractor, your property manager, all your other pieces?
I wouldn't say it was too difficult. I think managing the renovation from a distance has been a little bit more challenging. So I think I want to find better processes and managing that remotely. But in terms of finding vendors, I mean, I've realized there are a lot of vendors in Cincinnati area who are fairly good at what they do. So I mean, I think if you search around enough and dig around a bit, you can definitely find them. But yeah, vetting them out, kind of building that trust early on is obviously a learning curve. And that's why I'm doing it with my own capital in the beginning, because like if I lose my own money, it's not the end of the world. But you lose an investor's money, it doesn't feel so good. So I mean, building the team out, just kind of speaking with a lot of different people, speaking with a lot of different property managers, contractors, and I'm sure it's like you're far ahead, but I'm sure it's always a learning process.
You're always learning. Anyone who says they're not growing.
Yeah, I mean, you finally think you found a good contractor, and then something happens, and then you got to go find another one. So I mean, it's kind of this ongoing process. So, but I think overall, it's been good so far.
That's good. This just popped in my head because you said when you bought it, it was 5 out of 6 that were occupied. And then you raised the rents on all those. Did you get the last one? Did that renovation get all completed? And did you get a tenant into the 6th unit?
So one of them, the empty unit, we've finished renovating just 2 weeks ago, and so we have it listed. So far, it's not tenanted yet, but we've gotten some attraction and some viewings at $700 per month, and we're just kind of in the works of doing our due diligence. So I mean, it's 700. Pretty good. I was estimating between 700 to 800. So kind of right around where I expected. So that's good.
Yeah, no, that's good because you're moving it up to market and getting and sometimes they don't rent right away because you want to pick the best tenants, right? Otherwise you're gonna have a new problem, right? Let's do another eviction, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So your next ones you're gonna do? Are you gonna do Cincinnati as well, or where are you gonna go there?
Yeah, I'd like to, at least accumulate a few more properties in Cincinnati, just kind of build up a solid base there. And then, if things are going well and liking the numbers, getting good numbers on it, then definitely I could just double down on Cincinnati.
Yeah.
If not, I kind of do like the idea of being a little more diverse having kind of your foot in a couple different markets. But on the same token, if you're able to kind of double down in one market, then you could definitely, build a strong team down there. So, I mean,
yeah, it was like way back, probably like episode 20 or something, like way back. I had like Marco Santarelli come on the show, and afterwards we were just having like a conversation, and I was like, oh, and he's like, so how's it, what's your business like at the time, like what are you actually doing? And I'm like, oh, I got some places in Huntsville, I got some places in Kansas City, got some places in Indianapolis, I'm like, here and there and everything else. And his advice was, he's like, before you spread out, go deeper into a market, be someone who's important to the property manager instead of just a little guy to all these people. He's like, if you can have like, a whole bunch of units with these property managers, you're more of a, get more of their attention when you send emails and stuff. You're more important to them than the guy that just has one or two places right all over the place or whatever it was at that time, right? And I actually went with that advice, and I started, picking my markets, going deeper into those, and so I still have a whole bunch of properties all over the place and a whole bunch of extra markets, but going deeper into spots is really, it's everybody you're more important to. The wholesalers you're more important to. The property managers, your realtors, everyone you're more important to if you're doing more transactions in the same market using the same kind of people, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that's kind of something that like I kind of experienced, because I had the duplex in Windsor, and I was still kind of like the small guy. I'm still kind of the small guy in Cincinnati too, but like, when you only have maybe one or two properties, it's true. I mean, it's not, I don't even blame the property managers. They don't take you as seriously, right? Whereas if you have maybe 20, 30 or, whatever X amount of units, right? Now you're kind of a bigger deal, right? And, the quicker to your emails, you can just feel the communication be a lot quicker and snappier rather than,
they remember
waiting.
who you are.
Yeah, they remember who you are. And, so that's definitely like, I think having those, even with contractors as well, and just everyone around you, they know that, their relationship with you is a lot more valuable than someone who maybe just has one property and calls you maybe once every, 4 years or something. So,
yeah. How often do you have to go see this property? Have you, you set this up, you mentioned managing the renovations remotely, but it sounds like you went and saw it before you bought it. How many times have you had to go down there?
Yeah. So, I mean, actually I didn't, I only went there to sign the documents for closing documents, but prior to that, I basically had everything. I looked at obviously the MLS listing, and then I had an agent as well who's, once we got it under contract, he toured the property. Also had the inspector, take extra pictures, videos, and he did a great job, like amazing job in terms of just showing all the bads, and that's what inspectors
that's
do.
what you want to see.
Show I want to see what's wrong with the property.
Good.
Yeah. So, I mean, they did a really good job with that, and I was able to get in and kind of look at some of those videos and reports. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I haven't visited the property ever since like we closed on it, and I've kind of been doing a lot of it through email, phone calls, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, and just, I am actually visiting. I'm going this weekend, so just to try and check it out and show my parents as well, because they wanted to see it. But other than that, I haven't really. I'm trying to set it up in a way where I don't necessarily have to be there regularly, and I'm able to just kind of go in and more or less check in every once in a while and just kind of show face and shake hands and whatnot. So I kind of want to get it to that point. So I'm trying to right from the get-go build it out that way, rather than me having to kind of constantly drive back and forth until I maybe one day decide to move to Cincinnati or something. But until then, yeah, I'd like to kind of build it more remotely so that I could, that kind of gives you the superpower of investing anywhere.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but that's the goal, is to do it remotely. You not have to see these people and have the teams that you don't have to do this, right? It's so much easier to scale if you don't have to walk these properties and babysit contractors and do all that stuff. You can just step back. That's the way you want to do it. If you could give any advice to anyone else doing their first property in the States, what would be the advice you'd give them?
Yeah, I mean, I would, I would probably do your research. That's for sure. I think in Ontario, especially if I know there's a lot of Ontario investors who are trying to invest in the US now, and I think you could get away with investing in bad neighborhoods in Ontario, and you could still like make a ton of equity gains and whatnot. But I think in certain pockets, especially in the US, you're not going to get away with that. And so I think definitely doing a lot of your research, doing your due diligence on kind of what neighborhoods you're going to be investing in, and building it out that way and learning a lot about the market before jumping in and investing in the US is obviously key. And then setting up your structures first. I mean, I had to set up kind of a business entities and all that set up beforehand before I started jumping in. So that does take a bit of a time. You can obviously jump in and try to buy it under your personal name, but I've experienced some lenders who, they won't lend under your personal name, especially the US lenders. So just having things set up right from the get-go just makes it a lot easier, because once you're in the thick of things, it's very hard to set up all those things later on, right? And it's just a timely thing.
Yeah. And you just mentioned structure. Like, if you don't mind me poking lightly into that, which way did you go? Did you do LP or C Corp, or what were you advised to go with?
Yeah, I did the LP.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I most commonly use too. Awesome. No, I was just curious, because there's so many different ways to do that. And even
a lot of
myself, I sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm doing more flips. Maybe we'll set up a C Corp. Oh, we're doing a lot more long-term holds or burrs. Let's do LPs. And depending on what you're thinking, sometimes different structures make different sense.
Yeah. And like those things, like even I couldn't explain it like right off the top of my head. Those are things like I just talked to, like, getting obviously a cross-border specialist and just speaking with them about it and having them run through it. It's like, I mean, again, it's one of those things, get your team to work on it, get the specialists to work on it. So
awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I do appreciate it. And I think there's a lot to take away from this, because it's so relatable to so many people about what starting off and doing the things and the transitions. So I think this is a really valuable episode to a lot of people. If people wanted to get a hold of you, interested in how you did it, or looking to make some connections to work with you in the future, what's the best way to track you down?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm pretty active on Instagram. Just my name is Jashan Mundi. And yeah, Instagram is probably the main platform that you can catch me on. I'm also on Facebook as well. But yeah, hit me up on Instagram, more active on that. Reach out, and if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them away.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. I do appreciate it a lot.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn.